if you earned a related raffle spot, you may play a male or female. It is completely up to you. And if you earned a unrelated spot, you obviously must be a man. But other than that, you can play any Deinonychus that you want, as long as they are an adult and they meet the gender criteria that they need to. Okay?
Exactly.
So we are hitting our start time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of you guys to put your in-game names in pot class chat once you are ready for your teleport. Okay?
And I'll give you a tick if you are actually an attendee.
Yes. So Nunya here will be double checking, making sure everyone who is putting their name in is attendee, as she said, and then I'll be sending your teleports and getting you set up in game.
It might take me a while because like my document is
No
a bit of a
worries.
mess.
Oh, looks like we already have someone. Can hear footsteps. Elegant is way faster than I am. Oh my goodness. All right. How about I do our group invites? Natty, if you want to pass me leadership for the time being. Elegant is like speeding through these teleports, and I.
Okay. Oh. The two calls are already going at it.
So we are on Realism 1. I'm going to put myself on this little rock over by the water. Whoever's here and doesn't have a group invite can approach me. And I can make sure this little fella over here doesn't have one yet. There we go. Welcome back, Green. Please be patient with us while we get through everything. There are quite a few of you.
Okay, perfect. If anyone is missing a teleport or something like that, just let us know in podcast chat, and momentarily you will be teleported. Make sure that you are on a flat ground so we don't send you somewhere underground or something like that.
I have gotten through the list. If you have not been teleported, it's most likely because you were not in the server when I went to pull you. If you could please put in another request, thank you.
Yes, I'm looking at... Oh, let's keep the broadcast to a minimum for now, guys, while we're just getting set up.
Yeah, let's keep our little calls and chirps a little bit to the minimum, so we can kind of not feel too much overwhelmed.
Please also make sure that you are on server 1 there, Cook.
Yes, server 1.
Same thing with you there, Beanie. Mm. I'm not seeing you in the player list.
Yeah, I'm not seeing you either there, Beanie. Just double check that you're on Realism 1. As well as you, Cook. Not seeing you there either.
Just a reminder that we are on Walking with Realism 1. So make sure to double check those servers just in case.
Whole horde of chickens. Dear God.
Per usual.
Alright, Beanie, let me have a look there. Now I see you. Alright, I will teleport you. There we go. I see you, Cook. Yep, there you are. Perfect. Group invite incoming. There we go, and I will teleport you. There we go. Alright, is there anyone else who still does not have a TP or a group invite? Let's keep those broadcasts to a minimum. Just until we're set up, guys.
Yeah.
Please be aware of your little chickens. They make a lot of noise and it can get pretty overwhelming, so just make sure you also think about others.
Alright. Oh, Potato, you left the group immediately. Just let me know when you're back in the game. I believe you will be our last teleport. This is going to be the last call, yeah, so anyone else who might be still missing their TPs or their invites, pop that in-game name in class chat there, and we'll get you sorted. Okay, perfect, Potato. I will send you an invite. And a teleport is on the way as well. Alright, perfect. Okay. All right, so that is the end of our TP period and the start of our Deinonychus class. So let me get my recording started for our lovely friends who cannot attend. Alrighty, everyone. So this will be an intermediate Deinonychus class, which means that we are going to be focused on questions. Okay, we're not going to be going over the entirety of the profile, but we will be going through it section by section in terms of the questions that you guys are going to be asking. Okay, so we're going to allot a 20-minute time period for each section of the profile for you guys to ask your questions. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a chance to try and cover at least a little bit of everything. And then once we get through all of those little sections, we're going to open it up to more general questions, so that anything that didn't fit within those time periods, or maybe someone didn't think of and they thought of later, can be asked at that point. So we'll get through each section of the profile and then essentially open it up to a free-for-all for questions, okay? So, with that being said, who is excited for Deinonychus? Give me a 2 call. I heard that broadcast. Who did that?
No, we didn't. Shut up.
All right. So, we are going to be using Pot Class Chat to ask our questions, okay? The last Deinonychus class that we hosted, a lot of questions were getting lost in the in-game chat. So for today, we're going to use Pot Class Chat to ask questions, and we're going to be ticking off those questions as they are covered, so that nothing gets lost, okay?
You can also be more organized.
Exactly. That being said, I will ask that we do keep chatter to a minimum in the in-game chat, just so that we aren't overwhelming each other, or potentially, just essentially overwhelming. There's going to be a lot of noise. There's going to be a lot of movement happening on screen today. We've got a lot of people in one spot. So we'll keep chat to a minimum in-game so that that's just not another factor to be considered. Okay? So, with that, let's start questions for early life. So any questions that you guys have regarding the early life section of the profile can be asked.
We're watching Pod Class Chat right now. So Kenji is already having a question. It's saying, can females leave their kids? Yes, they can, and there are many reasons why they would do so. So maybe it can be like potentially being just not healthy enough to really keep up, and just in that scenario, you're basically you as the mother having that risk of potentially risking your own life or something like that. So there are many ways, and if Alice could give us perhaps better examples of that.
Sure, I can do that. So, Kenshi's asking, can mothers abandon their kids, essentially, if they feel too stressed. If a mother is feeling stressed for whatever reason and she needs to prioritize her own health, it is completely realistic for an animal to put themselves first. And, you know, at the end of the day, you can always make more kids, but you can't make more of you, right?
Exactly.
So if you are feeling stressed for whatever reason, maybe your clan has, you know, had a really rough go. They've, you know, had encounters with predators, and they've had scarcity in terms of food. You know, in that situation, they might need to make that call, right? Like, do I prioritize myself, or do I prioritize these offspring that are extra mouths to feed? Okay. As for abandoning sickly children, so the profile states that mothers will care for their young, okay? So even if they are sick, a mother will ultimately care for her young. So I'll pull that section up there to quote it. Ooh. Bear with me there, my friends. What was that, Natty? Sorry?
I can find it for you.
Oh, no worries.
I have it.
Oh, okay.
So it's in the social behavior, and it states mothers care for their young, but hatchlings and juveniles with albinism in particular may be denied food or other resources by their female relatives.
So essentially what that is meaning, okay, is that mothers will care for their young, okay? They have very strong maternal instincts, so they're going to be caring for their young for as long as they can. If we circle back to, is mother stressed? Is there a reason why she might need to leave this child behind? Then in that situation, you know, she might, if this child is clearly not going to make it and it's causing her extra stress to be caring for it, then, you know, it might get left behind. But in general, if they're able to keep up, they're able to do what they need to do, then they will care for their young. That being said, sickly children or children with albinism can be denied food by their female relatives. Willow asks, do female and male hatchlings / juveniles act differently towards each other? So, among the related members of a clan, males and females share the same ranking, okay? They fall in the exact same position as their siblings. It doesn't matter your gender. The behavior is not necessarily different between them, okay?
Yes. So, Snore City had another question in general. How would Deinonychus tell the difference between when an exile is happening and when a rally is happening? Like if there is any specific behavior other than perhaps more mock biting that marks it as different than a rally that demons might pick up on.
This is not an early life question, so we'll circle back to that when we get to our social behavior, okay? Acri asks, if a lone female and male courted and essentially started a clan, after courting, would the father leave the mother and his hatchlings to find more females, or would he hang around the area loosely? This is a really good question. As we know, male Deinonychus do not partake in any sort of child rearing. So this is going to just depend on the personality of your male. Is he a male that likes to bounce between clans, or is he looking to establish himself in a clan, right? He can absolutely linger around with the intentions of staying in that clan. He's not going to care for those offspring because that's not his role, but he could absolutely linger around in order to establish himself in that clan and essentially make a home for himself. But he can also move on and look for other clans, right? That's totally fine. It's he has that choice.
Perfect. So, Beanie Bun has a question. At what age should babies start acting rambunctious? I hope I'm not like totally butchering it, but I probably am. So, when it comes to like Deinonychus hatchlings and babies, right? Uh, they are very they really like to cause mischief, and there is not like a very specific age when that comes to. It will be more of a individual matter. So maybe, you know, when you're born, you can be a little bit more laid back. You want to perhaps like really gather that energy and get to know your surroundings a little bit better before you start being a little bit more naughty. But you can essentially be more adventurous or even mischievous at an early age. So that will be up to your individual or like up to your baby chick's personality.
In general, I would ultimately recommend like leaning more into it once you hit juvenile,
Oh
just
yeah,
because that's
definitely.
when they're going to be more confident in their movement and their ability to actually cause trouble. But they can certainly try when they're younger. They're just going to be a little bit less confident, a little bit more clumsy.
More confused.
Mm-hmm. Fleeter asks, is it okay for a female to favor some offspring or one particular offspring over others for a multitude of reasons? For example, one appears to be healthier than their siblings. So, as the profile states, mothers will care for their young. To what extent? That can be determined by your individual's personality. It can also be determined by the various factors that are occurring in that particular nesting. If you have one baby who is literal hell on earth and is causing you stress and running off, you might prioritize the health of the rest of your clutch over that one. If they want to run off and get in trouble, that's on them. You can try and recruit them back into your little horde of babies. But if their distractions are ultimately causing issues and impacting the rest of your clutch, then your care level can absolutely differ for them. All right. So Kelly has a question here. It says, not sure if this quite fits here, but what are some good ways to drive off a sister's offspring if you don't want to or cannot commit infanticide on them? And if you are found out doing that, would you still get exiled from the clan as you didn't kill the offspring? So driving out an individual from the clan is mostly going to be done through intimidation. That's going to be whether you are constantly dominating them, rallying them, if you want to rally a baby, things like that. You're going to want to intimidate them, make them feel scared to the point that they no longer feel safe in that clan. Okay? They don't feel comfortable. They don't feel that this is a safe home for them. And they are essentially intimidated into leaving because they feel so unsafe in that clan, or so intimidated in that clan that they feel, okay, no, I'm better off on my own. Or they might just genuinely be that scared that they run off and get lost, or other factors like that. Okay? If you're discovered doing that, that's not the same as infanticide. That's not outright killing a chick. That's just showcasing your dominance and using your dominance to intimidate a potential threat out of the clan. So it's not the same as infanticide. You're not going to be exiled for that. If you're openly, being really aggressive in your attempts to intimidate them, then that could be seen as tyrannical, which is another issue in itself. But it's not straight up baby murdering, so it's not going to result in an immediate exile.
Yeah, so just I wanted to quickly add something onto that. So the mother, you know, may be a little bit more like, you know, eyeing you or something like that, but as Ella said, it's not gonna be something like, oh my god, you eyed my baby, you're gonna get exiled right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Consider, the mother in question if you're trying to drive out a baby. Is mom right there? Is mom actively watching you try and do this? Right? Or is this baby wandered off and you're able to intimidate it and scare it into the woods or something like that? Also, ask yourself, who is the mother? Is the mother the lead female? Because that might get you in trouble. So
Yeah,
definitely factors to
definitely.
consider.
So, Salt King has a question, and I quote, how would a tyrannical mother treat a hatchling versus a tyrant mother? So I assume that we're talking about how, so that I'm just like getting it right, how would a tyrannical mom behave rather than a non-tyrannical mom, correct? Just to make sure that I'm on the same page. Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay.
So, kind of like, again, going back to what we said before, Deinonychus, like Mom Deinonychus will still care for their, you know, babies and stuff like that. However, they are strict moms, right? And in the profile it mentions, I will quote it right here if I can find it. Yeah, it's in offspring rearing. Hopefully that I'm reading that right. Mothers are attentive but extremely strict to ensure that their offspring remain submissive to them. So, being tyrannical is gonna definitely come into play here. So normally, Deinonychus moms are, you know, kind of strict to ensure that they know their position in the clan that they're under them, right? Below their mothers. So for a non-tyrannical female, this can, you know, they can be like less strict, or not less strict, but just less assertive over them, and just kind of, you know, over some from time to time assert them, or just reminder plays, as if what I would imagine a tyrannical mom, she would take really those moments, like every single moment, to kind of like assert herself. At least that's how I imagine it, how things would go with a tyrannical mom.
Absolutely. And she might be more extreme in her methods as well.
Yes.
More scary. Snortsity, sorry if I'm butchering your username, asks, would mothers pool their kids with just any other female's kids or more trusted ones? So that's a really good question. So with that, we can look at the profile, and profile states, I believe this is in offspring rearing. No, it's in hatchling and juvenile Deinonychus are pooled into a creche with the other young of the clan. That is collective. All the children. That is a collective thing. All the kids are pulled together. Once introduced to the clan, they're just a absolute little swarm of babies. Okay.
In their garden.
Yeah. So they would put all their babies together to be basically jointly cared for by the clan at that point. You can absolutely, pay more attention to your own offspring, of course. But by having them in the center of the clan and, being cared for essentially by the group, right? Chances of losing your offspring to infanticide at that moment is going to be fairly slim, right? Okay? Because I know the concern is, would I leave my offspring only with trusted individuals because you're worried about the infanticide, right? But if all the babies are all together with all of the clan's eyes on them, anyone who attempts to commit infanticide in that moment is not making a smart decision. So no one in the clan wants a infanticide to happen, and they will not tolerate an individual who openly attempts to do that. So having all of the clan's eyes on your babies actually does ensure their safety.
So, Salt King had another question. When attempting infanticide, how would you show behavior of trying to pin to blame on the murder or the murderer attempting to put blame on an innocent? Ooh, that's a really good question. So I think I'm gonna gather everyone here, if that's okay. Everyone can kind of just like gather around. I think that this can be a good example of um, showing it to everyone. Oh my gosh. So if you guys can just sit over here. Okay, so oh. Oh my. Oh. I thought about it for a second. Okay, perfect. Well, oh my god, what is this fish over here?
It's your dead child.
Oh no! The baby! Guys.
Okay.
Let's put the fish down.
Let's put the fish down and let's gather around, okay? So, when it comes to... Oh. Okay, guys. Can you... Let's put the fish down, please, and let's gather around.
Okay, I'm gonna just put it over here, a little bit away from the crowd, so everyone can see. So everyone stay back, so we're not swarming the area. So Natty can give us the example that she's trying to do.
Yes. So, if just everyone can come over here, just sit down. Okay, perfect. You guys can sit down. So, when it comes to trying to blame it on someone else, while, you know, caught in the act of infanticide or something like that, there are, you know, many ways to show this. And it will come eventually to like combining a lot of like emotions and like actions and stuff like that. So if I can have Fleeter over here.
I'm gonna ask you to put it down. I'm so sorry.
Fleeter,
but
come
we
over
are
here.
going to be using this for an example.
So. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So let's say, right? I don't know. I'm your sibling or something like that, and wait, actually, you look like a man. Sorry, not you. Go, shoot. I will ask Acrive over here. I'm sorry that I'm butchering your name. So I'm just gonna ask you to just like kind of bite on the ground or something like that to kind of like show us that you killed the hatchling or something like that. And I'm your sibling, let's say, in this scenario, right? And I suddenly like see this, right? And maybe, I don't know, the clan is like behind me or something like that. Then I can kind of like quickly eye emote, like what's happening over here. Maybe do like a little sniff. And kind of like indicate with like a bunch of 4 calls and maybe like 3 call to kind of like really point at them. And maybe like broadcast even to be like, hey, this is the one who did it, right? And this would be the other way around too. Oh gosh. Guys, I appreciate everything. Let's just keep it down. Acrive was trying to show another example, so Acri, I'm gonna kind of like get you back over here. And let's have someone else in here,
our
right?
Timer. So that'll be the end of the early life questions. We'll finish up all the questions that were asked, but we'll put a stop to questions for now.
Yes, perfect. So, I'm gonna have Bun, if you can come over here. You look like a female. So, what Acri was showcasing, it was already like a good behavior. What I was trying, okay, Acri, if you can just maybe like just sit down or something like that. Perfect. So what I was just trying to like kind of showcase, like how would you kind of like point at someone like how, you know, if you caught them in infanticide, if the clan would be coming near, right? How you can like kind of like indicate this one did it, right? So now this scenario will be, okay, I have Akri who has killed a hatchling or something like that, and the body is somewhere over here. And we have Bun over here also being a witness. So this is gonna be a little bit to kind of like a showcase how Akri can pinpoint an innocent standby, basically, or an innocent female at this. So let's say, you know, I come around and I see that something is happening, and see already Akri is kind of like giving a forecall. So I'm like, oh well, they didn't do anything wrong. Why are they forecalling? What's happening? And I see that they're kind of like wing flapping at them and forecalling again, kind of like using their eye emote too. And this can definitely change my mind, or how Akri is role-playing this. I will be like, well, Bun did it, so I'll join Akri. So that's kind of like some ways of like showcasing or pinpointing it at someone who's clearly innocent.
Lovely, guys. And at that point, with everyone coming forward, the clan has made their decision on who the baby killer is, which will result in an exile. Okay, Kenji had a question. If a male sees a female killing a juvenile and under, does he do anything? So, if it's a related male, he would behave the same as a related female would, in that he'd be like, uh-oh, that's not good. I should tell the clan. Right? The related members within a clan do not want baby killers in the clan, because that's their family, and that's their social life. That's where they get the support that they need to, you know, maintain themselves in the hierarchy. A unrelated male is probably going to be less inclined to care, okay? Because he doesn't have any sort of parental instinct. He doesn't have a reason to, you know, intervene to protect that chick. If anything, if he makes that female mad and, you know, tries to get her in trouble, then, you know, he might also, if it doesn't work out, right, and the clan doesn't, you know, realize what's happening, or doesn't clue into these signals, then that female might, you know, attempt to dominate him over and over again because she's now upset with him. So the unrelated males, they're really, the incentive for them to get involved in that situation is much, much lower. Honestly, as myself playing an unrelated male, I wouldn't care. That's not my business. I'm just here to woo the ladies and pass on my genetics, okay? I don't care what babies get killed, because I can always make more babies. But the related members within a clan are going to care. Okay?
Because eventually in the future it can also be their offspring.
Yes, exactly. And even for the related males, right? They can form, they can gain social support from their nieces and nephews, right? So, yeah. Let me find my spot here again in the questions. Salt King asks, how involved are related males in babysitting, and would they chase away related females knowing they are potential threats? Excellent question. So the main role of a related male when it comes to babysitting is when the clan is away hunting. Generally speaking, the females care for the offspring, especially their own young. They're going to prioritize them above all else, of course. But the related males will work together to care for these babies while the clan is off hunting and, you know, whether they're scouting or actively hunting, or they're busy for any other particular reason. Maybe they're challenging for a body or something like that. Their attention is essentially divided. So the related males come together to help with the offspring in that situation, okay? They would not chase away related females, no. That is not a described behavior. The goal of a female who is attempting infanticide is to do so secretly without being discovered. So if she's openly approaching a chick that is being guarded by a related male, she is not going to have much success. So it's just a bad idea. But no, the male would not chase her away. He's not going to recognize her as a threat. Because with the clan, as we mentioned earlier, when the offspring are introduced to the clan and are with the collective, they are raised in a creche. They're raised together. So if that offspring is being guarded by that related male, they're in the creche. It's not a good time to be attempting infanticide.
Trying something.
Exactly. So Willow asked, can a female leave her clutch in a cave at hatchling and juvenile stage till they hit adolescent to stay protected from others? That's an excellent question. So, if we look at our profile, the females, the mothers, specifically, the second point in early life, it states that mothers discreetly move away from the rest of the clan to ensure their female relatives do not kill her brood. Only when she discerns that they are ready will she introduce them to the clan and the lead female. So it is up to that mother when she introduces those young. They can be introduced at any stage. It is up to the mother when she introduces them. That being said, they need to have the lead female's approval to join the collective. So the lead female might be more inclined to accept them while they're younger, right? Because she'll more easily recognize them as, oh, hey, this is my daughter's babies. This is a new batch of grandkids. So if they're getting big, she might be like, who are these guys? If they've been gone that long, right? So it's up to you when you introduce your offspring, but just keep in mind that, the longer you wait, the more they might be inspected by the lead female. She might not necessarily recognize them.
Yeah, it definitely can just sometimes be a little bit more troublesome. It's not something bad, but it's like, yeah, as Ella said, the lead female might take her time to kind of like inspect the new batch.
Try and figure out who they are, right? Okay. In a past class, this is Alpine's question. In a past class before the profile updates, I heard that related males could act as wingmen to unrelated males. Is this still a thing? And if so, what's the best way to act this out? Oh, yes, and you are right. It is in the wrong section. So we'll circle back to that. So that was some really, really good questions, guys. A lot of them weren't necessarily for early life, but due to the connection to babies and, how babies are interacted with in the clan, I let it slide. But let's try and stay on topic as much as we can for each section. So a lot of those were kind of more offspring rearing and stuff, but that's okay. Babies were still the center of the conversation. So the next section that we are going to be looking at is going to be general behavior. So the general behavior section of the profile, it's not very long, okay? There's literally just 4 points there, but I do want questions that are directly related to these 4 points, okay? I know a lot of questions can be asked in relation to general behavior, but we can cover it in more of a broad spectrum towards the end of the class when we open up the free-for-all for the questions.
Exactly.
But we want to try and stay as on topic for the profile section as we possibly can. Okay, so with that, general behavior questions are open. And Potato Man comes in with the first question.
How would
Alrighty.
Deinonychus try to socialize with other species?
This is a really good question. You know, you ever find yourself playing a lone Deinonychus and you want to poke at something else and see what you can get up to? So, the first section of the profile says, solitary Deinonychus are cautious and shy creatures. They like to take minimal risk and stick to the shadows. When alone, however, they will quickly starve for attention and may attempt to socialize unsuccessfully with other species. So, let's see if we can get an example. And I can try and show you guys how one might attempt to socialize with another species. Okay, so Fleeter ran up to me, so we'll use Fleeter. So Fleeter, I want you to sit over here in this flower patch. And you're going to be a angry little ceratopsian or an angry little anodonto or something, okay? And I'm a lone Deinonychus. I haven't seen any other creatures for the longest time, and I am desperate for some socialization. So what I like to do when I'm playing a lone Deinonychus and I want to try and socialize with something, so this little herbivore over here is just minding their own business, enjoying the flowers. So I might sneak up on them and take a little sniff and see what the heck this thing is. And try to investigate it. And then I might try and call it because I want to be friendly. I want to socialize with them. But then they get mad, right? And let's imagine this is a big angry ceratopsian, right? Then that's going to be scary, right? I'm a lone Deinonychus. I'm still cautious and a bit more skittish, right, than if I was with my clan. So when they start showcasing that aggressive behavior, I'm going to back off. But I can absolutely approach things, attempt to investigate them, and attempt to socialize with them. But once they get angry, I am going to pick up on those signals, okay? And I'm going to let them be, okay?
Exactly. And also,
sorry, go ahead.
it's okay. I just wanted to kind of quickly touch up like how you were sniffing. Like that's a good way to kind of like slowly like approach them and kind of like see how their reaction will be. Because if it's gonna be aggressive, then you're gonna be like, oh well, never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Willow asks, would a lone Deinonychus or a hare groom other dinosaurs? The answer to that one is no. This is not a described behavior in profile. Deinonychus does not groom other species. Okay? Kelly Boy asks, how would a lone female show her wish to group with another female that they found? What are good ways to accept and reject? This is a really good question. I have actually had a few interactions now on a female Deinonychus that I've played by myself, all by lonesome, and trying to see if I can get a dispersal duo of females, right? And when I see another female around, what I typically try and do is I try to approach them in a way that says, hey, I'm curious of you. I'm not a threat. Please don't be scared of me. So Natty is already jumping ahead and doing this. So they're approaching, let's say I'm just like, I don't know, eating some sticks over here or something. So Natty approaches me when I'm minding my own business. And then I'm like, oh, another female. So she's going to approach kind of hesitantly, trying to make yourself seem like, she's not here to cause trouble. She's just curious of me. Very neutral body language. She's not going to submit to me because, they don't want to be necessarily like submitting to these other females because they don't want to show weakness, but they also don't want to show trouble, right? They're trying to group together out of necessity because safety in numbers, right, guys? So 2 females who are not part of a clan and looking to group up, neutral body language, non-threatening body language, right? Just kind of investigate each other, see what's happening, and be like, okay, I can tolerate your presence. And you might give a little too call. And from that point, your dispersal duo can kind of group together, or interact together, how they would, based on their personalities, okay? But neutral body language, you don't want to showcase that you're a threat, because obviously if you're showing threatening body language, then they're going to back off, which then loops into how to reject. So if I was approaching, and he's in my face already, if I was approaching curiously, because I'm like, oh, another female, maybe she's a dispersal like me, even though I'm clearly a male here, but for an example, maybe she wants to group with me, but then she's part of a clan, and she's like, absolutely not, I'm not grouping with you. So she starts eye emoting me. I'm still trying to showcase this neutral body language. She's like not appreciating me getting in her space. And then as I get closer, she might get angrier. Oh, and a big shove. She's saying, back off, get away from me, right? That wing flap is also going to communicate to me that she's not a big fan of me invading her personal space. She's lifting her head up, making herself look bigger, threatening body language, dominant body language. And I'm going to say, okay, no, this female doesn't want me around, and I'm going to go back to what I was doing. And maybe I'll have better luck with the next female I encounter. Kenji also asked if we can groom other dinos. Again, the answer is no. The attempt to socialize with other dinosaurs is a very brief interaction. It's curiosity, investigation, socializing, but do not groom. Okay, this is not a described behavior in our profile. It's not something that we do.
So,
That's a big question.
Ambiguous. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm not sure if this is related to general behavior, more to social behavior. I'm not sure if Ella's can agree with me.
Yeah, I would consider that one to be a bit more in line with social behavior. But it is touching on the selfish behavior that is mentioned in general behavior, so it's okay.
Okay, perfect. Let's go. So, they are asking, Deinonychus are inherently selfish creatures seeking to bully others off of resources if presented the opportunity. I have asked this before, but it would be nice for others to know. When does selfish behavior get overrode, if ever, by a bond? For an example, a clan member is slightly injured, but not on death's bed. Your Deinony is deeply bonded with this Deinonychus that is injured. You know, to dominate / bully them might mean losing / damaging that bond, and that bond is a powerful one to have. They have a lot of kids or something themselves. What would you do? Could you ignore dominating them in that case, or just show signs of self-dominance? Yeah, big question. So, it's kind of good to kind of like look back at the Deinonychus profile. So I can just quickly quote it over here in general behavior. The desire to gather and dominate others is strong. So, Deinonychus are very selfish, and it's like better you than me kind of situation. And as mentioned in here, the desire to dominate is strong. And for an example, let's say we have 2 siblings. So if I can gather everyone again over here, we can kind of like, again, give a good example or something like that. Don't worry, sit around, gather around. Yeah, okay, you can sit. Don't worry. I'll pick other individuals. So let's have Kenji. Come over here. Come. Perfect. So let's say Kenji, we are related, so we are brother and sister, we have a good bond. Maybe, you know, not maybe, but we are clutch mates, we are siblings, we have a good bond, right? And let's say, I don't know, Kenji has fallen from a cliff and has hurt himself and is kind of limping. Perfect. So, when it comes to Deinonychus dominating over one another, they will take any opportunity to kind of assert themselves, right? And even if we have such a strong bond, this type of dominating, like when people hear it, they're like, oh yeah, it's like eye emoting and oh my god, being all in your face, right? But it's not really like that. There are like kind of like many levels when it comes to certain types of dominance. So maybe, you know, our aunts would be more assertive over Kenji. So maybe let's have oh, you over here. Amp, come over here. So let's say you are my aunt or my uncle or like a related uncle or something like that, and you see Kenji, you know, being in such a weak state or something like that, right? You can be more assertive, perfect, putting your head up more to be bigger. That's gonna be a more assertive. But like there's no need for Kenji and I to kind of like I forgot the word, damn it. To ruin that bond. Like we are still siblings, we have still such a good bond, but maybe instead of being really in Kenji's face, we can show subtle dominance. And subtle dominance can be shown in very different ways. So Kenji, if you can just come over here and maybe sit, right? So let's say Kenji is sitting over here, they're just tired, and what I can do instead, I can just sit up here. I can just sit up higher than them, right? And it's not something being like really up in their face. It's just like, okay, well, I'm slightly kind of like taking yes. It's just like I'm still taking over the situation and being like, okay, well, you know, I can just be more dominant in this way, right? Or maybe subtle dominance can be something, if you want it a little bit more forward, then you can like, maybe Kenji, if you can come a little bit closer so people can see. Right, another thing, something like kind of like subtle, you can maybe be in front of them when they're limping behind you, you know, that can also show some type of subtle dominance. And maybe, you know, me and Kenji are kind of like just cuddling or something like that. And what I can do is just kind of be subtle about it, kind of just like put my head up taller than them. And be like, okay, well, I'm not really like eyeing you right here in this spot, but I'm just showing some subtle signs. Like, oh yeah, you know, we're cuddling, oh, everything's fine, don't worry. Keep cuddling. As my head goes taller, you know? So there's definitely, like, you don't necessarily ruin this bond by just being subtle dominance. Just be aware of the Deinonychus behavior and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the ways.
Yeah. Excellent example, Natty. So, Luke has a question about the female duos. If a female duo is together for a prolonged period of time, can these two females form any kind of bond? And can these two females stay together if one wishes to form a clan? So let's look at how these duos are described in profile again, okay? The last point in general behavior says, the desire to gather and dominate others is strong, even among dispersals. Some dispersal females may form loose and temporary duos as they seek out mates. It is an alliance formed out of necessity. They are violent towards each other and splinter at the earliest convenience or slightest inconvenience. So, again, an alliance formed out of necessity. It's a safety in numbers situation, okay? They are grouping together because they're hoping that having another Deinonychus nearby can grant them some safety. But they're not going to be forming a strong bond with this other female, okay? They are only doing it because they have to. There's not going to be any sort of bond formed. They're not going to stay together for a prolonged period of time. As well, if they are unrelated to each other, they cannot stay together once one of them decides to form a clan, okay? So this is a really good question, because if we look at the profile notes, the dispersal females, oh goodness, let me find my spot. So two females that are related can form a clan grouping. Two females who are unrelated or related can form a duo. So if it's two females that are unrelated, they're always going to form a duo. They cannot form a clan style grouping, and they're always going to treat each other as a necessity. It's a means to an end. It's not something that's going to last for a long time, and any chance they get to split from that other individual, they're going to do it. If they are related members, so two sisters perhaps, then you can look at your relationship with that sister. When you guys leave your clan, your birth clan, or are exiled from your birth clan, you know, maybe things didn't go so well, for whatever reason, that you guys have dispersed on your own, look at the relationship that your sisters have. Do they have a strong bond? Are they on good terms with each other? Then in that case, you guys can group together as a clan grouping, right? One of you will become the alpha, one of you will become the alpha's sister. If you are a clan grouping, then you don't have to have that violent interaction with each other. But if you're two sisters who do not get along, and the goal is to only have a temporary grouping, then you would behave more as a duo, in that you're only together out of necessity, and you don't want to stay with them long term, so you're going to have that more violent social relationship, right? Okay, it looks like we have a rally happening. I can't tell where one Dino begins and one ends.
Oh gosh.
Alrighty. So our next question, Salt King, is coming from Salt King. So this is they're asking for examples of meekness and how much would be tolerated before being exiled. So this is more of a social behavior question. So I'm going to skip over that one for now. Just so we can get through these general questions, but social behavior is next. So we'll touch on that then. Just link back to it so it's not missed. Cryptid asks, besides pushing off food, resting spots, and the such, what are some other ways of bullying clanmates? And to add on to that, what are some specific ways of bullying that can be considered tyrannical? So, oh, everyone has moved over there. So obviously, when you're looking to bully somebody off of something, which is a behavior that's mentioned in general behavior, that can be bullying them off resources, resting spots, as it says. Other ways of bullying clanmates could just be getting up in their business, getting in their way if they're walking somewhere, body blocking them, and just being a general nuisance.
Yeah.
Some more tyrannical ways of bullying someone could be, walking around them, body blocking them, getting in their way, and then creating a bit of distance, looking back at them, and mock biting. Right? So you're doing the same thing. You're bullying again, but you're adding that level of aggression and violence to it, right? Generally, if you're aiming to play a tyrannical character, what I really recommend is leaning into the aggression aspect of dominance. Okay? Mock bites, being way more assertive, way up, more in your face. So that's all really excellent ways of doing it. So actually what Natty's doing here right now, Natty, it's already an opportunity to bully Ellis. She'll take it. So she's getting up in my face and kind of pushing me away from the rest of the clan, getting in my way as well. Oh my God, not letting me have personal space. I would ask everyone else give us room to have this example.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So she's getting up in my business. She's going to try and body block me. My Denon doesn't really understand what's happening. And there's a mock bite, right? So I'm like, whoa, what's that? So she's not really pushing me off of anything, but she asserted herself in that moment, bullied me a little bit, got in my way, got in my business, threw that mock bite in there and saying, I mean business. Okay? So she's bullying me, making me uneasy. I'm going to hide behind this little rock over here. So just like that. The frequency at which you do that can determine how tyrannical you are, right?
Exactly.
So Beanie's asking in chat here, which I haven't really been looking at chat much for questions, but over nothing is the key. Not necessarily. We're not specifically talking about tyrannical behavior here. We're talking about bullying and how to bully others as a way to dominate. So again, over nothing is totally fine. If you want to just get up in someone's face and bully them a little bit, like if Natty just wants to walk in this direction, or me, I guess. Please turn around and walk the other way is what I meant.
Sorry.
So she's walking that way, and I'm like, I'm going to bully Natty today. I'm going to get in her way. So I'm getting in her way. I'm stopping her from walking and just not letting her have her personal space. So I'm just bullying her in this situation. That's totally fine. It's not over anything, right? I'm not trying to get food off her. I'm not trying to get a resource off her. I'm just being annoying and I'm bullying her. But that added mock bite or getting up in the face and being a little bit more aggressive with it, right? And body blocking, mock biting, just, it's very, very forward, very assertive in its behavior. That's the difference in bullying versus tyrannical bullying. That's kind of what we're discussing here.
With tyrannical behavior, if you want to showcase it, it's basically like pushing someone's buttons to the very core and like,
yes,
for an example, to kind of like the nips and stuff like that, it's kind of like really assertive and just like adding some sort of fear in that Deinonychus. Be like, oh, okay, I don't want to get with them. I'm scared of them.
Yep. We hit our mark for timing for general questions, so we'll put a stop to any extra questions for now. We'll finish up these ones. So the next question Willow was asking, what is too dull for a male? For example, would I be considered too dull? Okay, Willow, let me see if I can find you here.
There you are. I
see you jumping.
I found him.
Perfect. So I would not consider that dull for a male whatsoever. I'm sorry, I just stepped on for in between here. You've got some blue-gray, like steel colors, which are really, really bright and contrasting with the black. But then you also have this orange and yellow that's really standing out. These are some really bright colors. It's not throughout your whole body, but you have bright colors, and that's the main thing. You're not like all black or all gray. You've got varying colors and some very bright, saturated points as well.
If I can just quickly poke in, the visual dimorphism says males are more brightly colored than females. And yeah, you have some yellow, you have some red, so I would consider that being a male.
Absolutely. We have some questions here. Arduna asks, how long would a strongly bonded Deinonychus stay with an injured clanmate? Oh, actually, hold on. Let me just poke in with Cryptid's question in chat here. Please ask your questions in pot chat because they're going to get missed. We're not looking in class, in the in-game chat, okay? Because we're trying to make sure we get through these in an organized manner, okay? So yeah, how long would a strongly bonded Deinonychus stay with an injured clanmate? Especially if they cannot travel.
Can I poke in?
Yeah.
Yay! So to just quickly answer that, how long will a strongly bonded Deinonychus stay with an injured clanmate? So this will be all up to your kind of like individual Deinonychus. So first ask yourself, you know, or like kind of like think about it as in like, okay, well, I'm leaving the whole safety of the clan to be with this one individual. It's gonna put me into more risk of like, I don't know, dangers, right? There's not that many numbers that keep me safe or protected or anything like that. So that's gonna be one thing to consider about. Like, am I really willing to leave the safety of the clan to be with this one individual Deinonychus? And then there's also kind of like a timetable, some sort of like, or like what I would like to go with, like, you know, am I too hungry? Am I too thirsty? Like, is my health at risk at this very moment or something like that? So that's what I would consider.
That's an excellent answer.
Alpine has a question. What's a good way to show you'd like to exchange males with an opposing clan? Woo! Perfect. So, if I can gather everyone again over here. Perfect. And now, oh gosh, don't kill him. Don't kill anyone. So, and I'm gonna ask 444 Alpine, if you can just stand on the other side over there. Perfect. And let's make two groups. One with me and one with Alpine. So just kind of be a little bit like separated, take some groups. Right, perfect. So when two clans meet, right, they're not they're not really gonna be that friendly to each other if they're this close, right? But if, you know, I am interested in perhaps exchanging some of my sons to, you know, to have like more unrelated males, then I might, perfect, as Alpine is already showcasing. We're kind of just like having some neutral body language. And maybe I can like kind of like chirp and maybe like push my sons a little bit in the front to kind of like showcase like, okay, this is what I have. Right? I'm sorry, Kenji. Right, so this is gonna be like approaching with more neutral body language, right? And if the sons are also interested in like joining perhaps, right? And maybe the others of my sons catch up and they're like, oh, maybe, you know, I wanna go further. I wanna explore what are other options out there. So this is getting a little bit like, you know, yeah, but as Alpine is already doing, and with Fleeter's already approaching Alpine, and they will just inspect them as any other male. So I see that Beanie over here is kind of showing some submissive behavior.
Poke in as well. Biggest thing to consider in a clan exchange is that it's up to the males themselves to make that decision. The females are not going to protect their males and stop them from leaving. They're also not going to encourage them to leave. It is up to the males and whether or not they are ready to move to a different clan, okay?
That's happened to me too many times.
The other thing that you need to remember is we'll circle down to aggression for a quick second. Aggression says that opposing clans are quick to quarrel rather than mingle without a common enemy. So if they do not have something that they're working together for, the chance of them having any sort of exchange like this is very, very slim. Clans tend to bicker over carcasses and hunts when they encounter each other, but they may temporarily join together in a mob to hunt large prey. The mobs are what serve as an opportunity for clans to exchange males for maintaining genetic diversity. That is going to be the most amicable encounter between other clans because they have full bellies, everyone's happy, they work together to take down some food, right? If they don't have that, they're going to be more inclined to quarrel with each other and bicker with each other. So they're going to have some, a little squabble perhaps, right? Okay. Snort City, oh my goodness, asks, if you are a solitary Deinonychus and super hungry, would you rather find something to hunt or try your luck finding a rotten corpse, bones, or last resort insect and salt rocks? Biggest thing to consider as a solitary Deinonychus is risk versus reward. Are you willing to risk injury and potential infection or death in order to hunt something all on your lonesome, right? Especially if it's a prey item that, you know, maybe has a spiky tail or a spiky face and won't let you take it down easily, right? Or would you rather scavenge and eat a corpse, eat some carrion or insects or something like that, right? Okay, so the risk versus reward is what you're going to want to consider, okay?
Exactly.
All right, so let's see next one here. If a female in a sister duo gets sick or injured, would she be left behind or would it depend on the severity / personalities? Okay, so if we're in a duo grouping, right, they will split at the earliest convenience or inconvenience. So if the other female in your duo grouping gets injured and can't keep up with you, are you going to wait around for them? Or are you just going to move on and prioritize yourself, right? Again, linking back to this selfish nature that is at Deinonychus's core. chances are you're not going to wait around for them, right? So the most realistic course of action to take there would be to leave them behind. Especially because it's a duo grouping, right? You're so quick to splinter that there wouldn't be hesitation there to just go off on your own.
So, our last question for general behavior is from Salt King. And they're asking, how would a tyrannical lead female act? Could you visually show some examples? Would they act differently from normal tyrannical? Oh, it's raining. That's great. I'm not sure what you mean by normal tyrannical. However, I can give you some examples of like, you know, from a non-lead.
So a non-lead tyrannical female.
Ah, okay, I got it. So, you know, being a I'm not sure if I understand with my little brain.
Do you want me to step in?
Sure, I can show some examples, but my brain is not comprehending with me
So
today.
what Salt King is asking is, how would a lead female who is tyrannical behave? How would they behave differently from a tyrannical daughter? So they're the alpha, and they are tyrannical. So how would they behave in comparison to a generic tyrannical female?
Perfect. Thank you for explaining a little bit to me. So, when it comes to you know, the lead female, and if you have a lead female that's tyrannical, the lead female very well knows their position. They know that they're the top dog of, you know, the clan. They lead them to safety, to food, to resources, everything like that. They make those decisions. And so with a lead tyrannical female, they can be more kind of like out there. They can kind of like, try and do more, try and kind of like be more tyrannical and just really push someone else's buttons really to the limits, as if a daughter would be doing it. That can they can maybe like turn an eye on them and be like, okay, well, this is a little too much. Whereas if a lead female was doing it, then, you know, the members would be like, oh, okay, fine. So in that case, that can be like nip biting and stuff like that. And oh, as Anna and Fleeter are going over here. They're showing some signs of dominance and even nipping. Oh. Yeah, perfect. So just like that.
So we are at our hour-and-a-half mark, and we are only through general behavior. So I am going to keep poking us along. There are a lot of questions that were asked after the cutoff, which is okay, because we are leading into social behavior. So honestly, that's where these questions are going to start falling anyway. So we'll just continue with social behavior questions. I'm going to start our timer now for the 20 minutes. The question that Kenji started off with asked, can two unrelated males bond, or can one unrelated and one related male bond? And the answer to that is absolutely. Deinonychus are very, very social creatures. If they can form a bond in order to assure that they have a social backing to keep their place in the hierarchy, they absolutely will. Okay. Biggest thing to remember when we're talking about bonds with Deinonychus, it's not like, oh, you're my best friend and I would die for you. It's, oh, I enjoy socializing with you and I'm going to continue to socialize with you because you'll back me up in the future. So the goal at the end of the day is to maintain your social standing, which ties into that selfish behavior that Deinonychus has. So we're making bonds to maintain our social standing within the clan and maintain our ranking in the hierarchy. Okay. The bonds are not like altruistic. We're not gonna like go and like lay down in traffic for them or like save the day for and do all these and special things that like might be considered more humanizing. But these bonds can definitely form. They're just at their core, they are reliable social backing. Okay.
Acri had a question about after Will's question, is my fan too vibrant with her yellow colors? Yellows, just making sure.
Now it's gonna be a bad time to look at skins with this rain.
Yeah. But I believe I already saw your female Acri, and I think like that this is just giving me female vibes. There's nothing too vibrant or something like that. I see this as a creamy color. Oh, the rain stopped. Perfect. Like this is not like there's a difference between you know, contrast and being vibrant. I hope that I'm saying that right. And this is like a cream color. You know, it's kind of like your base color. So I don't see this as a man. I see this as a female.
All right. We have another question from Hockey asking, can a female try to charm an unrelated male from a different clan into joining her own? No. So courtship is not led by the females, right? The males lead courtship by mimicking and keeping a female's attention. Okay. So there's nothing that she can do to attract him. It is up to him and his thank you for that. It is up to him and how he feels in that moment, and how confident he is, whether or not he's ready to make that jump into a new clan. Okay.
So Snore City is asking, how would Deinonychus tell the difference between when an exile is happening and when a rally is happening? Like if there's a specific behavior other than perhaps more monk biting that marks it as different than a rally that Deinonychus might pick up on. So there's not gonna be really that much of a difference because you know, exiling someone and also like rallying, they have kind of like the same way. Like you rally basically, you broadcast, you throw in 3 calls and stuff like that. The only way that it might be a little bit more like noticeable to others is when the side that has like, I don't know, more you know, more side, more underside or something like that, them being more pushy into like, you know, if it's an exile, then they might be a little bit more pushy, you know, wanting that individual really gone. As far as with a rally, it might not be that certain way, but that's just gonna be like something maybe happening, like a tiny little detail.
What
But as
I
far
would
as that
expect
goes,
to see, oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
What I would expect to see with a rally, so let's say somebody rallies and they get absolutely no support, everyone's against them. When they back off, the clan lets the rally end. Okay.
Yes.
If they are being exiled, that rally will not end until they are gone. So they're backing off, but they're not leaving. The rally's going to keep happening.
Perfect.
So there is nothing that they can do to appease the clan in this situation. It is an exile. You need to leave. You showing submission and you know, backing off, ending your side of the rally, cool. That's great, but you're still being exiled, so you need to leave, right?
That's great, but you
So
still
it's
gotta
going to
go.
keep going. So
Yeah.
yeah, like you mentioned, mock biting and things like that can definitely like signal, okay, this is a very, very serious thing. But yeah, the rally's just not going to end until they're gone, right? It's very clear. You gotta scoot. Okay. There's actually a question. I'm gonna skip ahead to answer this question because it actually ties into what we just talked about, and it's something I would like to touch on myself. So Beanie asked, how would a great grandchild to the alpha be exiled? So per the group limits, great grandchildren to the alpha cannot stay. Okay, so this is something that Moss touched on during my last Deinonychus class. And Moss is the profile writer, for those of you who don't know. And so she kind of offered a bit more elaboration on why the alpha female does not tolerate her great grandkids in the clan. Okay. So the alpha tolerates her daughters and her sons, of course, because they are her social support, okay? She tolerates her grandkids because they are the social support of her daughters. So she doesn't want to make her daughters upset by exiling their kids, because if she makes her daughters upset, that's her direct social support. If her daughters are upset with her, she loses social support. So she tolerates her grandkids, but her great grandkids are so far removed from her, she does not care. They're just extra mouths to feed at that point. So by exiling her great grandkids, the only person she's going to make upset is her grandkids, who are not her direct social support. Okay, so that's why she kicks them out. They're just extra mouths to feed. They're so far removed from her, she doesn't really care. So the exiling for them doesn't need to be this big involved clan moment, okay? Not everyone needs to come together to push this poor great grandkid out, because that can be a bit extreme. But the lead female is definitely going to step forward and show body language that says, I want you out of here. And that could progress into a full-on exile in the same way, because obviously if the lead female is doing anything, her clan is going to want to support her. So it often will end up working out the same way. But it doesn't need to become this big thing. It can be a smaller exile of just the lead female saying, okay, you're subadult now, please leave. And that can be something that's communicated with the actors, obviously, if they know what egg they're taking, and whether or not they're allowed to stay in the clan. The lead female, once they get too big, she can just kind of push them off from the area. Yes, any questions, please ask in the Discord, because they are going to get lost. There is a chance we are not going to get through all of these questions today, guys, which is really sad. But you guys have so many good questions. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me circle back here. Let's see what else we have. So Kelly asks, would a daughter that cannot produce offspring prioritize creating strong bonds with her clanmates? If so, would she also readily bond with Deinonychus that may be seen as less desirable, sick, very submissive, etc., or would she still hesitate? Really excellent question. So a Deinonychus is not going to recognize their own infertility. Okay? They're not going to make that connection because that's not how an animal thinks. Their desire and their instinct to breed and reproduce and create offspring is still going to be there, whether or not they have success. Oh, we had someone stuck. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
You got out. Oh, good job. So, yeah, their desire to breed is going to be there, so they're not going to recognize themselves as infertile. So they're not going to prioritize making bonds because of that. They're still going to try and court the same way as anyone else would. And as for making bonds with sick or very submissive individuals, making bonds with a submissive individual, that's cool. That's totally fine because you guarantee that you'll always be above them in the hierarchy. A sick individual, you're definitely going to want to continue to dominate them while they're still sick, because being sick pushes you down in the hierarchy, and other Deinonychus will be taking advantage of that. They're going to use that opportunity to push themselves up. So it's not necessarily making bonds with them, because let me rewind a little bit. A sick individual is not going to be sick forever unless they die and the sickness has ended. But if it's a temporary sickness, sorry, Natty?
Oh, it's okay. I never know when to step in.
I'm just going to finish this point here.
Yeah, go ahead.
A sickness is an opportunity to dominate someone else, okay?
Exactly.
Whether that's active or subtle, okay? It's not a time to bond with them, okay? That was my point. Was that what you were gonna say?
And I just wanted to like quickly like kind of like point out also, like if you are spending time with that sick individual, then that can for the other members of the clan, it can like they can think like, oh wait, but that must mean that they're sick too, right? So they may think that, and they may take that opportunity to also assert over you.
Exactly. Okay, I'm just scrolling through all of these questions. I'm gonna just have to throw out the idea that we're gonna go section by section because we're not gonna get through everything, because we're already going to run out of time.
Xenon is a lot.
So just ask your questions, and that's fine. I will be calling it an end to questions in about 20 minutes, because again, we have our specific time set aside for this class today. There are other things happening in the server that I want people to be able to attend. So 20 more minutes of questions, and we'll call it an end, but we will answer the questions, okay? So the next question here asks, what is the best way to execute a dominance nip? Lots of agitation displays, full 3 calls, warning air bites first. Can you nip without any prior warning, or is that seen as over-aggressive or tyrannical? Really good question. Okay, so let's get some people over here so I can give a bit of an example.
Gather around. We're having our meeting again.
Hold on, I'm seeing something from Alpine here. Sorry, Alpine, I did answer that question. I just didn't check it off. So if you missed that answer, I'm very sorry. But the class will be recorded, so I can try and get a timestamp for you.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone is in a very tight circle. Let's back up a little bit around me. Just give us some space. Okay. So, Natty, I want you to sit right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't kill me.
Okay, actually, maybe stand up because of the damage boost. So if you're doing a little nip, okay.
Just
Let
be
me
doing my
see
business.
the question again so I can kind of.
Cleaner is having
use
some
the
anger
example.
issues back there.
What is the best way to execute a dominance nip? Lots of agitation displays, full 3 calls, warning air bites. Can you nip without any prior warning, or is that seen as over-aggressive tyrannical? So, you can nip without a warning. There was a bit of a misconception that this started a hunt within your group, but Moss has clarified that that is not what happens. But the best way to do it is to do a 3 call, okay? Because if you're challenging for something in particular, you should be doing a 3 call because it's a challenge. So if Natty's in a particular spot that I want, then I would 3 call, right? But in general, dominance nips, I would aim for the tail, okay? I don't want to kill anyone, right? So if I'm going to nip, I'm going to nip the tail, okay? If I'm wanting to show agitation, before I do my nip, I can do some little wing flaps, and maybe Natty's not listening, is completely oblivious to what I'm doing, and is ignoring me completely. Maybe I do a 3 call, and she still doesn't get it, still isn't moving, and so I completely miss.
You got it, buddy.
So
You
I nip
got
her
it.
tail, right? And that's totally fine. If you're playing a more aggressive individual, they might not give as many warnings, right? And they might nip sooner. And all of that is okay as long as the frequency. Give us a second, Kenji, because we don't want to bite Natty too many times here.
Please.
But consider the personality of your Denon, what it is you're attempting to dominate them for. And if you're using this as your main way to dominate others, then you could potentially be seen as tyrannical, okay? Like if this is the only way in which I dominate people is by nipping their tail and getting up in their face, then that's going to be seen as tyrannical. A light nip here and there, if Natty's like on a rock I really want and she's ignoring my challenges and I do a little nip, I won't nip you, just do a chat call, then that's okay. But if that's constant, right, then that's badness, okay?
Yeah, that might lead into more trouble.
Yes.
Than necessary.
Someone asked, can nipping turn into a scuffle? And absolutely. So if I do that nip to Natty, pretend, and Natty turns around, and Natty's like, "Oh, that hurt," and then we progress because now she's realized I'm challenging her for the spot, or I'm getting upset at her for whatever reason, and it will progress into a rally the same as anything else. So yes, they can absolutely turn into a scuffle. You don't have to sit there and be nibbled on and just allow that to happen, okay?
Yes.
Oops, the wrong thing. Okay. So, Fleeter, the most realistic reaction would be to turn around and issue a 3 call. If you turn around and start nipping again, it could just escalate into a problem. Okay, so I wouldn't turn around and just start fighting. When a daughter inherits her mother's position after the lead's death/exile, how would the brothers of the new lead be treated? Would they be treated like her sisters, or would they be treated, or would it differ in any way? Would these males in such scenario be more inclined to disperse? That's a really, really good question. So we recently had an addition to the profile to clarify how the sisters are treated, okay? The sisters of the alpha specifically. And that is, let me find the section here. They essentially are pushed to remain submissive to the alpha, right? So an alpha sister, cannot have offspring within the clan. They're either chased out or killed. And because of their inability to gain offspring, then they also will struggle to climb the social ladder, and they often sit at the bottom of the related ranking, right? And she may eventually leave out of frustration and due to her inability to rise in that hierarchy, right? Males are not going to be treated that same way because they're never a related male specifically. Sorry. So the brother of the alpha is not going to be treated in that same way because they're never going to be bringing offspring back, and they're never going to be attempting to outnumber the alpha's offspring and gain enough kids to overthrow, because the males don't have that desire to lead, right? So they would be resting pretty comfortably within the clan compared to a sister. They're not going to be bringing back offspring to attempt to climb the social ladder, and they're not going to be attempting to overthrow the lead by any means. That's not a male behavior. Okay.
Okay. So, Ambi has another question. How often should people realistically be fighting when outnumbered in a rally? That's a good question. So let's take a look at what the profile has to say about this. So let me just quickly find this. I had it somewhere. Damn it. Just a moment. Yeah, so it's important here to look at the wording specifically for this. So in social behavior, it quotes, I quote, sorry, most arguments tend to subside when one side gathers more forces than the other. It says most arguments. It doesn't say always or something like that. So this will like really depend on the situation and stuff like that. So, you know, what are you rallying for? Is it really worth the fight, even if I'm outnumbered? You know, what is my personality like? Is my Deinonychus experienced in having rallies? Am I more on the stubborn side? Clear. You know, like, am I experienced, or maybe is your Deinonychus personality a little bit more stubborn, so they, you know, might not might want to, you know, actually like fight for that, or you know, do I feel intimidated at that point, right? So those are all those questions that are going to be important when it comes to deciding whether or not to fight for certain things or rally for certain things.
Salt asked if social behavior included courting. I'm opening everything up, questions up for everything at this point, because we are going to run out of time because you guys are insane and asking all the questions. So ask away. There's 3 minutes left, I think, on my timer.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Before I'm ending the questions. Yes, it's a good insane. You guys are so invested in Deinonychus. You want to learn all the stuff, which is great. But oh god, how do I cram this into 2 hours?
Yeah.
So yeah, we are going to be ending questions soon, but we are going to be going through to answer them still. Hopefully, those of you who asked them will still be with us to hear the answers, but if not, like I said, it is going to be recorded. The class is going to be going for about 2.5 hours is what my plan is at this point, but there is other things happening in the server, and I want people to be able to attend them today. Okay, so the next question, do Deinonychus hold grudges? For example, a Deinon rallies against another Deinon, they expect a bonded member to back them, and they back their opponent. Would they hold a grudge over that? I wouldn't describe it as holding a grudge. I think that's a little bit too humanizing. But they could definitely be upset with them in the moment, and create distance and avoid socializing with them for a small amount of time. It's not going to last forever. Continued socializing will probably prepare that. And they'll probably go back to, the way things were before. They're not going to hold a grudge for years.
Yes.
And, decide that, you're not my friend anymore or anything like that. That I think would be a very extreme, and more human thought process with that, rather than an animal's thought process. So they might have a moment of being upset, but it will dissipate eventually.
So, Salt King had a question. What would examples of meekness be, and how much would be tolerated before being exiled? Examples: would an older or injured member be exiled if they couldn't keep up with the clan, thus slowing everyone down? How does this differ for unrelated males, who by some standards are more meek, submissive by default? So, just off the bat, if an unrelated male is submissive, that is good. That's what you're looking for, mainly. But showing meek behavior can, have a lot of ways, like not keeping up, not really asserting yourself, letting other, like for an example, for a lead female, there was a situation back there when my female was trying to push everyone off the carcass so she could get the first bite. So by kind of like letting everyone, like for an example, if it would be back there at the carcass, if I was just eating and I would let everyone else join in, that can be a sign of meekness for the lead female. Be like, oh well, she's not really doing anything about it, right? So I can take my chance of like dominating her or something like that. So those are some kind of like examples of like meek behavior. There was an example that Salt King gave us, and it states, would an older or injured member be exiled? And the answer to that is yes, they definitely can. So if there is a member that's been in a clan for a long time, they're particularly like a old member or like an old unrelated male or something like that, that for the lead female can be a sign of like, well, you are just an extra mouth to feed, right? So
If
I can
poke
exile
in
you.
with this as well.
Go ahead.
I don't believe in this situation it would necessarily be an exile. It wouldn't be an active attempt to push them out of the clan. If someone is old, weak, unable to keep up, the clan simply just isn't going to wait for them. So it's not an exile, it's abandonment.
Yeah. That's a better wording, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that can definitely happen with like older or more weaker members, because that's just a extra mouth to feed, and that can definitely lead onto eventually abandoning them.
Leaving them behind if they can't keep up. Yeah. To add on to that as well, with the mention of the unrelated males, meekness is not a concern for males. Meekness and tyrannical behavior is specifically behaviors that are a concern for females within the clan. A submissive unrelated male is a good thing.
That's what you want. That's what you're looking for.
Snore asks, what makes an unrelated male more established in the clan? Bonds, the amount of females within the clan successfully courted and nested with, successful court/nestings with a specific female multiple times, or something else? Excellent question. I love talking about this. So, the way in which a unrelated male establishes himself within the clan is by existing within the clan. Okay? So, by socializing within the clan, by courting within the clan, whether it's successful or not, just the act of mimicking alone is great. Participating in rallies, building bonds, dominating others, making yourself known in the clan is how you establish yourself. So by submitting to the lead female, showing submission to her, by dominating other males, by courting the females, by mimicking, by socializing. Those are all ways to establish yourself. You're just making yourself more familiar to the clan. Okay?
Exactly.
And the more established a male is, the more attractive he's going to be to the ladies. So yes, a new male can show up in the clan and start courting right away. He might not have as much success, but continued effort. You know, if he's courting and courting and courting, he's making himself known to those females, and over time he will be considered more established, right? And that's what he wants. All right. Next question is from Ambidoya, asking, how should a mother Deinonychus react towards other creatures near her offspring, particularly other Deinonychus? I'm assuming you mean stranger Deinonychus who are not part of the clan. How territorial are they allowed to behave? You're editing, perfect. You do mean strangers. I see people often behaving too aggressively despite being outnumbered or clearly smaller. I don't know the line here. So, as a mother Deinonychus, if there are other creatures, whether that's another species or if it's a stranger Deinonychus and they're approaching your offspring, you're going to be allowed to defend your offspring and protect the personal space around your offspring. So if you need to challenge for that personal space, that's okay. But you need to consider what's realistic. So if it's another lone individual, another lone Deinonychus, who is attempting to investigate or try and like hunt your babies or something, and you want to challenge, that's okay. But chances are the most effective way to protect your babies would be removing them from that situation. So running away from whatever creature is causing the issue. Okay. If you challenge for personal space to protect your babies, there's still a chance that that could result in one of your babies dying. So removing your baby from the situation is the best thing.
Enough leader switching sides.
Okay, I'm going to make the cutoff here for questions, guys. There are still a few rolling in, but we are going to have to stop them.
You guys can just give us some space. She's not gonna like that.
Are we about to exile somebody?
Yeah. Oh god. And they're off.
Alright, so guys, you wouldn't pursue like that for an exile. That's very hunting behavior there. The clan would stay together in a unit and work to push that individual away, okay? And if they continue to linger, the clan would come together to continue pushing and pushing and pushing. But you wouldn't pursue them if they're actively leaving. Okay. Alpine asks, could a more dominant individual be inclined to fight during a rally if they have less support? Absolutely. Like Natty mentioned earlier, personality, as well as ranking and other factors can come into play with a rally. If you are outnumbered, but you're used to being a very high-ranking individual, and this is the first time in your life you've ever been outnumbered in a rally, and you are completely shocked and unwilling to give up what you're fighting for, you can absolutely fight. Yeah, there's lots of factors to consider as to why your Denon might be pushed to fight. Okay. Snore asks, are daughters allowed to exile other daughters/brothers for being over-aggressive and others want them gone? If the clan comes together and wants an individual gone, they can push them out, yes. Ultimately, it's going to be the lead female who is able to make these big decisions. Essentially, if the lead female wants somebody gone, they are going to go. There is no other option in that situation. If the lead female wants someone gone, the result is them leaving. But if enough of a clan wants an individual gone and the lead female is absent, they can effectively push someone out. It's simply through intimidation alone. If an individual has the entire clan against them and they're actively being pushed out, that's scary, right? So they might choose to leave. It's not the lead female putting her foot down and saying, "You're exiled, please leave." But it's that individual saying, "Nobody in this clan wants me here. I am frightened. I am intimidated. I do not feel safe, and I am going to leave." Okay.
So, Anna has a question. If I'm not skipping over, I hope not.
No,
Okay,
go ahead.
Anna says, say a tyrannical lead grows paranoid due to her children's growth in offspring. Could that tyrannical lead attempt to exile her grandchildren without any other reasoning besides her own fear and selfish grasp to keep her position? Amazing question. This gets me so excited because, like,
Spicy.
yes, this exact situation happened to me, and I was on the verge of doing that. So the answer is yes, they definitely can, because if you look into like the first kind of like introduction, so let's say you're the lead female and you have a daughter that has kids, so your granddaughters, and there is a moment when they finally go to the clan and meet the lead female. In the profile, it mentions that the lead female needs to accept them into the clan. So, if I can gather everyone around here. Perfect, just make a little bit of a bigger circle. Don't box me in. Okay, Fleeter, you guys can just go a little bit over there. Okay, who did we not have yet? So, Abandoned Apple, come forward. And I will have... okay, so, Apple, you're gonna be my daughter, and you're gonna try and introduce, your little, kids, which I'm gonna choose for you. They're not gonna be adult, they're gonna be like, I don't know, a little bit smaller. Or probably a little bit more than smaller. So, Willow, if you can come over here, you're gonna be the first child. Oh god, I have people jumping
Let's
over here.
calm down, guys.
Canis? Yes, you can come over here. And who did we not have yet?
And let's back up a little bit as well,
Luke.
so the example's
come over
clearer.
here. Come over here. Yeah, if you guys can just make a teeny tiny bit, a little bit more of a bigger circle so we can have really that example. So, let's say, I'm just like, I'm minding my own business, and then I see my daughter, Apple, trying to introduce her to offspring, right? And let's say Apple has been I'm kind of like paranoid, right? I'm not really sure what to think about the scenario of like, I have more power over you, and there are certain things that I can do to you in that case, if you are a threat to me, if that makes any sense. So Apple is trying over here to, show me their offspring, and I'm like, oh, well, exactly, Alpine. So, I really might just take your time, create that tension of, make in this scenario Apple nervous, right? Like, oh, well, they don't know what's happening, they don't know what's about to happen. So I really might take my time, and what I like to do is to really get close and just stare. And just stare. And if I really don't like them, and if, the lead female is really feeling this threat to her position by her daughter's offspring, she can just not accept them and be like, okay, I don't want you here. They're just babies. Yes.
But
And,
babies
you know,
grow into adults.
Yes. So, you know, I might be a little bit more forward. Like, okay, I really don't want you here. And, you know, Apple can either react by, you know, letting them go and perhaps show more submission throughout, you know, more like sessions and stuff like that. But I'm just not gonna accept them. So Apple can either, you know, show more dominance or not really like accept what's happening right now, which is totally understandable because if you're kicking someone's children out, they're not really gonna like that, depending on their behavior, of course. So yeah, Apple can either not really like the situation or just try next time and just pamper the mom in the meantime. It's okay. Thank you, Apple, for joining us. So I hope that this gives you guys a little bit more of an example of kind of like what to do if you're the lead female or something like that.
Alrighty. And our next question was from Salt King again. So if two females, if two males are courting one female and they rally each other, could the winner of the rally be allowed to nip the loser if the loser continues to try and court the female after the rally? Yes. So he's disrespecting your challenge timer. So you guys had your challenge, right? And for, you know, whatever, whenever you challenge somebody, right, you enter a challenge timer with them. And if they disrespect that challenge, they can be attacked again without warning per the rules. I wouldn't maul that man to death, but, you know, giving him a little nip to say, hey, we just rallied, and you lost and you ran away and now you're back. So you kind of remind him who's boss, right? In that situation. Like, I've already dominated you. You need to back off, okay? And if he continues to try and persist, you can continue to do that, okay? You can't break your challenge timer. You can't rally him again because you're on timer. But within that 15 minutes, if he's, you know, disrespecting you, he is free to be nipped. If a rally never began a challenge/fight, it's still a challenge because when a rally occurs, there are 3 calls exchanged, which starts a timer. Okay? Whether a fight actually happens or not, if a 3 call is exchanged, it is a challenge, which a 3 call is part of a rally. The profile mentions that they will threateningly screech at each other, aka 3 call, before broadcasting to rally support. So 3 calls are needed for a rally, okay? It's part of it. Salt actually had another section here to their question. Does rallying against another courting unrelated male for a female have any significance in choosing the most suitable mate? Does mimicry trump over everything? Basically, what would the female be looking for in a male the most? Okay, excellent question. I'm going to quickly go to the profile here, and we're going to talk about what a female finds attractive in a male, okay? So, let's see here. Interested males will shadow a potential partner and mimic her action to retain her interest, although his position depends on his submissiveness to females and dominance over other males. If another male is interested, he may try to chase him off. However, these pushes may result in brief spats. Courtship occurs over a long period of time and is restricted to mimicry only. The female does not necessarily engage in specific behavior when receptive. Instead, the male mimics what she normally does. So, courtship is restricted to mimicry only. What does this mean? It doesn't matter how much he grooms you. It doesn't matter if he brings you a flower. It doesn't matter if he backs you up in a rally. None of this matters when it comes to courtship. All that matters for courtship is how well he's mimicking you. If he's getting all those little subtle things that you're doing, if he's picking up on that. And if he is, then congratulations. He's impressing you. He's courting you successfully. But what happens if we have two males who are both the best mimickers ever? Okay? They're both doing a fantastic job. Okay? Then you're going to start looking at, okay, well, is this male more dominant? Is he more brightly colored? Does he have better feathers? Is he more well established? Then that's when you're going to start asking those questions. Okay? So mimicry alone and the quality of that mimicry is how the male courts you. But if all of a female's suitors are performing to the same level, then you want to start considering other factors that might make one more attractive than the other. Okay? Okay. Amdoya asks, in relation to another question from earlier, let's see. Oh, I've lost my spot. Oh dear. I lost the question. Grandkids of the Alpha, would they still nest? Would they still court/nest despite knowing their kids will be exiled? Perhaps they nested once and experienced that exile. Yes, absolutely. The instinct to reproduce is still going to be there for them, so they're still going to court. The more offspring that they have that are forced to leave is probably going to be more inspiration for her to move on and make her own clan, potentially, right? Or disperse. The instinct for her to have offspring is still going to be there. Absolutely.
So, Alpine has a question. Would males choose to shun an albino female if she is sickly, blind, deaf, etc.? Could they push away sickly females, or would they not care? So, this is important. Are we talking about related males or unrelated males? Because a related female will still be above unrelated males. So, unrelated males are not really gonna do anything.
We're talking about unrelateds there. They just clarified in game chat.
Okay. Perfect. So related albinos or anything like that, if they're sick or not, they're still gonna rank above the unrelateds themselves. So the unrelated males are not gonna do much about it. What you can do instead is, if they are really showing that like sick behavior or something like that, you can choose to ignore it or not. Because if, let's say, if you have a albino and they're doing fine, they're doing all right, unrelated males will still try their luck, right? But they're not gonna be like, if they are gonna try and be dominant to a related member, that's gonna be trouble for them. Already. Can albino, Kenji is asking, can albino prove themselves non-sickly if they're more dominant? So, let's kind of like take a look on what Deinonychus shunning is like. So let me just quickly go over to the profile and try and snatch the section of the profile over here so I can quote it. If you can, Alice, if you can help me over here, it's in this big social behavior section.
It's the last point in social behavior.
Yeah, perfect. So, Deinonychus are quick to seize any opportunity to step over someone in the group's hierarchy. Those who can rise above their setbacks generally fare well so long as they continue to have the energy to assert themselves, in spite of their weaker constitution. So, having a fully healthy albino is not going to be the case. But overall, when a so sorry, kind of just to kind of like go back a little bit. So how Deinonychus shunning works is as long as you're able to assert yourself over like others, just to like kind of like showcase like, hey, I can still assert myself. I'm still here. I'm still in the game. Then you're fine. But if you're not doing any effort to assert yourself, then you're gonna have a problem, right? So even if you're albino, right, and you still have that energy to assert yourself, you're not gonna have any problem. But if with being albino, and let's say you have a lot of problems, you're deaf, you're blind, you're not feeling too good in the sun, you don't have that much energy, and therefore you're not gonna waste that precious energy that you have left to assert over your to assert. So therefore, you're not asserting over yourself. So therefore, you're gonna basically get shunned. But if you do, then you're fine. Hope that makes sense.
So Cryptid is asking, can mothers abandon their young? What if their young are unresponsive for a long time, cannot keep up? Deinons are selfish, so shouldn't they only focus on caring for the strongest offspring? So we covered this in the beginning. If offspring are unresponsive, unable to keep up, and they're causing stress to the mother, and she's not able to offer care to the majority of her clutch due to the behavior or lack of behavior of an individual offspring, then they can leave them behind. Okay. Raising offspring is a very, very stressful thing for an animal. Okay. And if one of the chicks is very slow, very sick, and can't keep up, and it's causing the other chicks to start to starve because mom's trying to wait for that one sick baby and they're not able to find food, then she's going to oh my goodness, I can't speak. Prioritize the health of the majority over the individual. Okay. And that's all. If she's getting stressed out like that and unable to provide care for her clutch due to an individual chick, then yes, she can abandon them. Okay. If a grandchild catches their mother committing infanticide, what would they do? See, this is a really interesting question. Okay. So on one hand, you would think, oh, if I essentially tattle on my mom that she just committed infanticide, my mom's going to get exiled. And that means I'm going to get exiled because, like, I can't stay in the clan, right? Oh no, if my mom is gone, I've got to go too. But A, the grandchild's not going to know that. They're not going to understand the group limits. And B, if your mom is killing a chick, then your mom might kill your own kids in the future, and you don't want that either, right? So baby killers are not tolerated, okay? So they're still going to attempt to inform the clan of that, okay? Even if it means they're going to get exiled alongside their mom, they're not going to understand that. They're not going to know that. But they're also not going to trust their mother in the future, because if mom is killing this baby, that means mom might kill my baby in the future, right? So Deinonychus do not tolerate baby killers, okay?
So, Ambi is asking, if mimicry comes before dominance/rallies, then how would a male who lost a rally continue to court but try to avoid being nipped/pushed off? Mimic from a distance and hope the female sees. So, this kind of has been already talked about before by Alice. So if you already lost that rally, you have that chance, or like if you already lost that rally, you are kind of like disrespecting that timer. So therefore, if you are caught, let's say like right next to it or some like next to the lady, or kind of like still trying your luck, then there might be a possibility of you getting nipped. But you can still like mimic from a distance so long as you're not gonna get, so long as your cover is not getting I forgot the
Getting
word.
blown.
Yes. Leader. You're causing so much trouble.
Okay, so
So-
Kelly asks, oh, sorry. Were you going to go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll read it out. If a
Okay.
Deinonychus has met several blue jay skin Deinonychus and they were all female, would that specific Deinonychus associate that skin with female despite the dimorphism saying they'd be male? Or would the first assumption always be that it's male? So it doesn't matter what skin an individual Deinonychus is using, okay? If they are following the dimorphism of a specific gender, they will appear to be that gender and should be treated as they are perceived. So
yes.
if a female Deinonychus is using the blue jay skin, as an example, but they're using the all gray version, then they're dull. If a male Deinonychus is using the blue jay skin, but is using all brown and gray and black, they could be seen as female and treated as such. If a female or a male are using the bright blue options, they're going to be seen as male. It doesn't matter what skin they have or what previous associations an individual has with said skin. It's how they appear in that moment. Are they bright and colorful or are they dull? Okay. So cardinal is a really, really good example. Because for males, they can literally only be red, which is a very, very bright color, right? But the female cardinal can be bright yellow, which is still bright. So female cardinal, bright yellow, is not dimorphic, but female cardinal in the brown coloration is dimorphic, okay? It doesn't matter what previous associations you have with a specific skin. You just need to ask yourself, are they colorful or are they dull? And how am I perceiving them? All right. So our next question: if a male rallies over courtship rights/dominance and has more bonds, but the other male chooses to fight and wins the fight, what is the end result with ranking and dominance? Who really wins? What if the winning male sucks at mimicking but won the fight or rally? So, per the profile, the winner of a rally rises in the hierarchy. Okay. I'll find this section here. So the fourth point in social behavior talks about rallies and how they work. Most arguments tend to subside when one side gathers more forces than the other, especially if one supporter is the lead female. The winner rises above the loser in the hierarchy. So that is the winner of the end result. If the rally ends at the rally and no fight occurs, then the winner of the rally will rise in the hierarchy. If the rally progresses to a fight, that's still the same challenge. Okay? And so it would end with the winner of the fight rising in the hierarchy. If the winning male really sucks at mimicking but won the fight, the female is not going to be forced to court him. Okay? Like if he really sucks at mimicking, but he won the rally, but his mimicry is terrible, she can just be like, nope, never mind. I'm not interested anymore. Because yeah, if his mimicking is not up to her standards, she's not gonna be forced to accept him. You'll never be forced to nest with someone. And if he's really that bad, then you can just change your mind. Sucks for that guy. All right, so Acri had a question here, which apparently was already clarified, but they did have a second part here. So I'm just going to read over that really quickly. Okay, so could we possibly have a demonstration for the courting process / mimicry to clear any misconceptions, since I often see a lot of different variations of it, such as static dances, getting into the female's personal space, etc., makes it confusing as to what is the most accurate. Okay, I'm going to do this anyway. So, Natty, let's me and you go over here on this. Actually, never mind. Let me change my mind. Let's go down here. So, Deinonychus do not dance. Let's talk about that. Deinonychus do not dance to court. Okay? So, I want you guys to stay up on the rock up there so you guys can see this, okay? So, there is no dancing. When a female's... So, Natty, I want you to just dance and give me a bad example. When a female's ready to court, she doesn't do anything specific. She's not going to start doing this and then expect the males to like, oh, okay, we're going to do this. There's no dancing. She just does what she normally does, okay? And, yeah, we're busted down the moves. She just does what she normally does, and the males will mimic that, okay? So she does not start throwing it down and breakdancing or anything like that. She just does what she normally does. So if a male's interested in courting a female, he can do it in a couple different ways. So she's over there, and she's just minding her business, and I'm like, ooh, that's a pretty lady. I'm a mimic her. So I might do it from over here, right? And have a little sit. And she's noticed. She's like, oh, okay, he's mimicking me. She'll continue to go about her day. But as I notice that maybe she's noticed, or if I get more confident, maybe I'll get a little bit closer and mimic over here. You don't need to be up in the female's face. You're not going to dance. You're just going to mimic. Okay? Obviously, the farther away that you are when you're mimicking, the less likely she's going to notice, which means you might not be successful. So as you gain confidence, you are going to want to get closer to the female so she can notice your mimicking. But you're just going to do what she normally does. That's all. So just trail behind her. You don't need to get up in her business or anything like that. There's nothing fancy happening. You're just doing what she does. You lose all sense of self and you become lady.
Come on.
Exactly. You just do what the lady does, and that's it. Okay? That's as simple as that. Akri also asked, could a mother, so lead female, daughter, etc., abandon or exile one of their own chicks if, for example, they're actively being aggressive to their clutchmates under the rejecting unrealistic individuals rule? Yes. If someone is not following profile and not acting realistic per the rules, they can be shunned or kicked out of a group. Absolutely. And Natty, I see you have a magnifying glass on one. I assume you want to answer that.
Yeah, sorry. I was just rushing over somewhere.
No worries.
Parrots has a question, and it quotes from the profile. Lead females tend to avoid killing their daughters or granddaughters, offspring, unless they routinely take resources away from her leader's brood. And their question is, how would a Deinonychus lead female go about killing a chick? Would she have to do it secretly, just like all the other females? That's a great question. This question is not asked enough, and I don't see this happening too as often. I mean, of course, it's a particular scenario, of course, but I love this question. So, lead females still need to be secretive about this. You don't want to get caught by you don't want to get caught by the whole clan, because as we were talking about it before, you know, the whole clan is not gonna like a baby killer, or you know, anyone that kills babies or their offspring, because then they're like, oh, you know, this happened, so what if this happens to my offspring? I don't want this to happen, right? I worked so hard for this, or something like that. I don't want this to happen. So in general, you don't want a baby killer. But let's say if I can have everyone gathered around again over here, so I can just give a quick example. Okay, perfect. If you guys can just stay there, kind of like make a line. Perfect. Okay, and let's have, Koshi, come over here. So let's say, I don't know, you're like somewhere over in the bushes, let's say over here, right? And I just killed one of my daughter's chicks because they were taking resources from mine. So I don't, let's say that I killed chick or something like that, and I'm just like eating them or something, and Koshi comes in here, right? And they, since this is like an individual, they, you know, might be more, how to say it, they might have more space to tolerate this, since, you know, the one that did this is the lead female. So the lead female can potentially get away with more stuff. However, that doesn't mean that Koshi is not gonna be like, you know, like
So,
all friendly and chirps
I'm,
and everything like
I'm
that.
going to interrupt you for a second, Maddie, because even if the lead female kills a chick but is discovered, the outcome is still the same, and that they are going to be exiled. So the difference is, so let's look at where it talks about infanticide really quick. If I could just find that again. Yes, so females caught in the act of killing young in the clan are ousted without hesitation. This applies to the lead female as well. Okay?
I think I missed that. My apologies.
No worries. So if the lead female is caught killing a chick, okay,
That's gonna be the same result.
that's a bad thing. However, she's also the lead female. She's going to have a much easier time pinning that on somebody else.
Yes. That's
So if
that's what I think I
Koshi
wanted to say.
finds that, then, you know, you can turn that
still gonna
around
Yes.
and make it look like they did it. So yes, the lead female can absolutely commit infanticide. It's very rare. If she is discovered, she faces the same consequences. However, due to her authority, she can very easily manipulate it and pin it on someone else.
Yeah, so apologies for that once again. I think I have missed that, but it's good that we're all here together. So yeah, Koshi is definitely gonna have the same reaction to that. However, with the lead female, she's gonna, with her power, as I wanted to say earlier, she's gonna have much of an easier job to kind of like pinpoint it at someone and exile them instead.
Perfect. Okay, Parrot has a question. In Deinonychus' profile, it says that you can drive out chicks. Would this be done with a rally or something else entirely, i.e. secretly bullying them until they book it? So we covered this earlier in the beginning. And yes, driving out a chick is not going to necessarily be done through a rally, because, I mean, it could be done through a rally if for some reason in that chick's short existence they've made enemies with everyone in the clan and everyone wants to exile them, then yes, absolutely. But generally speaking, if a older sister is trying to drive out her younger sisters, her up-and-coming future rivals, it's going to be through intimidation, domination, and making them feel intimidated to the point where they don't feel safe and they leave. Or making them feel intimidated and scaring them, and so that they leave. And that's going to be how they push them out, typically. Like I said, unless that chick has done some god awful thing and is getting exiled by the entire clan.
Imagine.
So yeah, the baby commits infanticide. Oh god.
Twist.
No. Okay. So Willow asked, can a female choose to mate with the same male if the male decides to prove himself over and over?
So,
Go ahead, Nebby.
so as long as he's able to prove himself and do the job of mimicry, then yeah, go ahead.
Yep. So we'll look at the courting section of the profile for this question, because this is something that the profile updates wanted to clarify, because there was a bit of an issue with Deinonychus becoming almost borderline monogamous, in the sense that females were choosing the same males every time. Okay. So the profile updates tried to address this and clarify it. So courtship for Deinonychus is surprisingly involved and time-consuming for creatures with no long-standing purpose other than momentary romantic trace. Males will eagerly court any and all females they manage to impress. They do not forge intimate bonds or prefer specific partners. Females similarly do not have preferences or loyalty to their partners. So they do not form intimate bonds, which means they do not form monogamous mate bonds, right? They do not prefer specific partners. Females have no preference or loyalty to their partners. So a female, yes, can choose the same male multiple times. However, each season he has to start from the bottom. So he needs to perform to the exact same standard every courting session. Okay, he's got to do all the same mimicry and he's got to just start over. So yes, she can choose him again, but nothing that he did the previous season matters anymore, and he's got to start from the bottom. Anna is asking, will we be allowed to back to the mainland? Yes, we will TP you back. Don't worry.
No, of course.
Okay, just a few more questions here. So, if a lead female is showing signs of tyranny, would her daughters plot together to overthrow her for being too aggressive? So they wouldn't plot per se. This suggests, intelligence that's probably more human than anything. But if a lead female is showing signs of tyranny, then her daughters could absolutely come together to try and exile her. Like if a lead female is that tyrannical to the point that her clan no longer accepts her authority and they want her gone, they could exile her, essentially. Yes. And then the next daughter, the next highest ranking daughter, would take up the position of lead. That would be a very, very tense situation, because not only are you exiling your lead female for tyranny, but you're also going to have to determine a new lead female. So that's a lot. That would be a very heavy situation. But yes, the.
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to add onto it like that. With such a heavy situation, this will lead on for a while to kind of really be like, okay, well, we really do not want this lead female to be here.
Yeah. So they would. I just want to touch on the plotting aspect, because the Deinonychus would not come together to plot, because they're not going to have that decision making capability there. But you as actors in your dedicated clan, right? If someone has a lead female who's tyrannical, you guys as actors could plan a session where, okay, guys, the next session we're exiling the lead female because she's super tyrannical, and you could role play that out, right? So as actors, you can plan for that to happen, but your Deinonychus, they're not going to plan for that to happen. So yeah.
And I also wanted to touch up on something that, so this is also gonna be really important in the Deinonychus profile, like with mothers being strict and stuff, like you need to make sure that that your offspring is submissive to you. I had to learn this the hard way. So, Kelly Boy or Cook Hero is asking, what happens if a clan encounters an unrelated young, a Deinonychus, a juvenile / adolescent? So, well, you can either be, not welcome, or like, you cannot. I don't know. Let me redo that. You can, either eat it if you're hungry, because that, by well, if you are hungry and by killing them, that's for you less competition in the whole Deinonychus world, the clans and stuff like that. That's basically less competition for you. And also, you can just not welcome them. You can just basically throw, 3 calls out there, just get lost. I'm not hungry, but I'm not welcoming you here or anywhere else in my presence.
Great. So there's one other question here from Ambitoya here, which I'll get to in a second. Alpine is asking, can you post screenshots from this class as soon as it ends, or do you have to wait until the 25 minutes after? You are going to have to wait for the 25 minutes, yes. Okay. So Ambitoya asks, my last question for this class. So sorry, it's a long one, and it definitely is. So we're going to take a minute to go over this one. So if a male Deinonychus leaves his current clan, his dominance is reset. Okay, this is stated in the profile. I believe in the profile notes right at the top. Yes, unrelated males are not bound to a single clan, but their ranking in the hierarchy resets every time they leave to join another clan. So yeah, that's in the profile notes, which means it supersedes everything else. If a male leaves his current clan, his dominance is reset. How do our Deinonychus, unless they personally witness the dispersal, know that the unrelated male has left? Essentially, are we required to do what feels like metagaming / communicate outside of game and let our Deinonychus somehow know that they have left the clan temporarily? You can read this silently since it's so long. I did not read it silently. I read it out loud. So when this profile came out, I was in discussion with the profile writer about this. And it's essentially relying on the honor system. Okay. So we are relying on our fellow actors to inform each other of these situations. Okay. Yes, it is slight metagaming, but it also is ensuring that we are following the profile and following the rules associated with the profile. Okay. So we are relying on other actors being truthful to each other and relaying the information if they do disperse between clans. Okay. To justify this from a roleplay perspective, you could say that they are able to smell that they've been somewhere else. They can smell another clan on them, or you could say that he's been absent for a significant amount of time.
Exactly.
And has been missing, and then when he finally does come back, it's like been months or something like that, to justify it from a roleplay perspective. But yes, we are essentially relying on actors informing each other of dispersals. They do point out in their question, in the previous class before the profile reworks, unrelated males could clan hop without losing their rank. Instead, it was up to the male to try and balance multiple clans. So yeah, in the old profile, yeah, you could clan hop as long as you could essentially maintain your status. But in the new profile, it is very clearly stated you do lose all of your status within the clan. It does completely rely on the honor system of actors informing each other of these dispersals. And like I said, yeah, to justify it from a roleplay perspective, you could say it would be things like scent or absence over time. All right. And that is the last question. Who wants a TP back to the mainland?
Not me.
All right. Whoever wants to stay on that island can stay. But those of you who want a TP, my little blue Deinonychus. Oh, we have a bird. My little blue Deinonychus is going to go over here, over by the water. So whoever wants a TP back, please come over here and just let me know in chat here. Are you okay, Anna?
I think Anna really wants to go back.
You really want to go back? You want to be first? Give me a jump if you want to be first. Okay. All right. So, Anna, can you please inform me where you were previously?
I can also TP people back. Just Ellis, if you can just make sure with me what's on that for that. Forgot.
Okay, let me see. I hate that how Savannah Grassland is spelled.
I can send it to you. I think.
I might as well end my recording here.